Have you ever had a man walk away from you even though you did nothing to him? There was no argument, no problem. But somehow just your presence, your posture, or your energy pushed him away. Women sometimes have much more than words. Just a look, a posture, an inner strength can silently push men away from you. This is for a deeper reason than you think. But how? In this video, I will explain how you push men away without saying a word and without even realizing it. These narratives are not my invention. It's all based on Jung's psychology. Understanding these reactions of men will make you realize how dangerous the energy you are radiating is. So watch the video to the end and follow the 12 hidden signs carefully. Also, don't forget to write 777 in the comments before watching the video. This number will increase your energy and the energy of the video. You can help us deliver the video to many women by sending it to a woman now. If you have subscribed to the channel, let's start now. 1. Self-reliance. When you realize how independent and self-sufficient a woman is to a man, it becomes inevitable for that man to feel an inner discomfort. Her strong and independent stance can be a threat in his mind. Because most men think that a woman needs to be complete, she should compliment him, support him, help him. But what happens if the woman is self-sufficient? The man doesn't know how to need her and what role to play. This leads to withdrawal and emotional distance in the relationship. While this may seem simple at first, it is actually based on a very deep psychological issue that runs counter to men's subconscious perception of a complementary role. Most men want to take on the role of support provider or protector in relationships. Feeling needed by a woman boosts a man's self-esteem and reinforces his power in the relationship. But when the woman is a complete individual and does not need the man, it creates a sense of disempowerment for the man. This can be perceived as a threat to the man's identity. When the woman is strong and independent, the man's subconscious role is questioned. Many men perceive a woman's self-sufficiency as a threat to her inner strength and independence. This threat can make the man feel less valuable and that he has lost his role. The man wants to see himself as a protective, helpful, and complementary figure in the relationship, but the woman's lack of need for these roles directly affects his self-esteem. As Carl Jung said, when a man confronts a woman's inner strength, he encounters his own inner weaknesses. A woman's strength and independence can awaken a man's inner conflicts. Jung states that men realize their own weaknesses and dependencies when confronted with a woman's strength. This realization can lead men to withdraw and distance themselves from the woman, because her strong and independent stance threatens the role he has previously recognized and felt he belonged to. This creates a psychological conflict and can increase the instability in the relationship over time. 2. A woman who sets boundaries. If you are a woman who knows her limits, who clearly defines her emotional and physical space, if you don't like to engage in dating games, men are likely to move away from you. This is how a strong woman acts as a kind of filter. By setting clear boundaries in her own life and relationships, she avoids unnecessary complications and manipulations. However, these clear boundaries can pose a threat to some men and push them to retreat. A woman's setting of boundaries is a reflection of her inner strength. She knows very well what she accepts and what she does not accept, and this shows her determination and emotional stability. However, this clarity can sometimes create uncertainty in men's minds. Most men like dating games, emotional games, subtly trying to decipher a partner's behavior, figuring out how much to move closer or further away, are dynamics that men are used to. When a woman doesn't engage in these games, when she sets clear boundaries, men can feel uncomfortable. When women set clear boundaries, it makes them strong and secure, but it is also not something that every man can accept. A woman who doesn't play flirting games can sometimes make men feel more distant in a relationship, because there is no playground to create a sense of victory in the man. As Jung notes, men want to see themselves as protectors or leaders in relationships, but a woman's limitations can make it difficult for men to play this protective role. When the woman lives knowing her own power, she makes the man less of an emotionally needy figure, and this can create a vacuum in his inner world. As a result, if you set clear boundaries and avoid the dating game, men may be more likely to distance themselves from you. But this is really nothing more than you expressing yourself as a strong and solid individual. According to Carl Jung's philosophy, when a woman is strong, she attracts men around her. But this only applies to men who can accept her strength. Others may perceive her strength as a threat and withdraw. This is a natural process that allows the woman to maintain her self-esteem and inner strength. Another is that for some men, meeting a mentally strong and highly aware woman is an unexpected confrontation. These women do not come to games. Emotions cannot be played with. Manipulation does not work. They know what they want. They make it very clear where they stand, what they will accept and what they will not accept. This can be a serious shock, especially to men who are used to building relationships through emotional manipulation or control. Being mentally one step ahead is not just about intelligence or knowledge. It is also about emotional intelligence, insight, intuition, and the capacity to understand human behavior. Jung's idea of bridging the gap between the unconscious and the conscious is embodied in this type of woman. These women analyze not only what they feel, but also why the other person does what they do. Where many men try to stay on the surface, these women go deep. And this depth makes men uncomfortable who are not ready to face it. Manipulation is used as a means of control in most superficial relationships. But a mentally aware woman will figure out the rules of this game before they are told. Most men feel it as being read. Masks don't work. Intentions become visible, not words. And this frightens men, especially those who have not fully defined their emotional space and who do not want to confront their repressed aspects, because this woman compares them to themselves. Carl Jung says, man cannot be whole without facing his shadow. This type of woman illuminates a man's shadow. She brings to light his repressed fears, indecisions, and need for control. Jung's animus and anima archetypes describe the inner masculine-feminine balance in men and women, suggesting that a mentally strong woman can trigger the unbalanced anima in a man. In other words, she introduces him to aspects of himself that he does not fully recognize. This means the following. A mentally aware woman who is not susceptible to manipulation is not only a partner for a man, but also a mirror. But not every man wants to look in this mirror. Some prefer to distance themselves from the woman rather than face their inner contradictions, because it becomes impossible to act around this woman. 4. Speaks in silence. If a woman carries power even in her silence, this makes many men uncomfortable without realizing it, because society often defines a woman as a talkative, expressive, and emotionally open figure. But this woman is not like that. She speaks not with words but with her presence. Her silence is not a weakness but a stance that shows her depth, a stance that is fueled by her self-esteem. And that is precisely why some men feel uneasy around her. She is aware of everything, but she is not in everything. She draws boundaries without getting into arguments, takes a stand without getting involved in manipulations. She doesn't struggle to explain what she feels because she already knows how to control what she feels. This silence is very triggering for men who are insecure or avoid emotional confrontation. Around this woman, they feel like nothing is hidden. And such openness forces them to retreat. Carl Jung said, silence is the oldest form of communication with the unconscious. This silence is a depth that cannot tolerate superficiality. As Jung emphasizes, a person who is not at peace with her own unconscious perceives the silence as a threat, because what resonates in that silence is their own repressed fears. For this reason, some men unwittingly distance themselves from women who change the energy of the environment with their silence, who ask questions with their eyes, who draw boundaries with their presence. Because being with her works like an inner mirror, he is forced to face himself. And not everyone has this courage. 5. Not emotionally dependent. Some women do not surrender their emotional integrity to another. They experience love not out of need, but out of choice. These women are not afraid of being alone. In fact, they draw strength from being on their own. For them, a relationship is not about completion. It is about sharing. This characteristic poses a great threat to many men who appear to be self-confident on the outside, because some men want a woman to need them rather than want them. This woman may want to be loved, but she knows that she can survive without it. She can manage her own emotional system. She doesn't create dramatic crises. She doesn't act in search of approval. She doesn't constantly seek attention. This negates the egoic habits that don't work for some men. And the result? The man may feel ineffective, unnecessary, or inadequate. Carl Jung's quote summarizes this very well. Relationship is the meeting of two whole persons. If one is incomplete, the other is incomplete. This woman is not incomplete, and that is precisely why she unwittingly drives away incomplete men. A man who wants to have a relationship with this kind of woman has to develop himself and take emotional responsibility for himself. But men who are not ready for this, who run away from themselves or who expect someone else to carry their emotional burden, move away from this woman over time, because this woman wants equality, not completion, and anyone who is not ready for this balance runs away without even realizing it. 6. Not easily accessible. There are some women who, no matter who is in their lives, do not give up claiming their own time and space. They don't answer a man's text message in seconds. They don't run to every invitation. They are not available for every call. This is not a game. This is the natural consequence of being faithful to their own life priorities. And for some men, this loyalty can be perceived as not paying enough attention or coldness. But this woman is not at the center of anyone. She is in her own center. She does not melt herself into a relationship. And this attitude creates an energy that most men are not used to: uncertainty. Some men, however, want to control the dynamics of the relationship. They feel safe with a woman who is always within their reach, who responds to their every emotional demand. But this woman is unpredictable because she does not stop living her own priorities. This disturbs men who want to position their ego over the relationship. Carl Jung's quote, "Man is free only in his own inner space," describes these women exactly. They are loyal to their inner space. This loyalty, although it sometimes looks like loneliness, is actually the basis of the deepest bonds. But this inner integrity can cause anxiety in men who seek dependence, because that woman does not give the strings of her life to anyone. In this situation, a man may feel left out. However, he is not excluded, he is just not in control. And this feeling of loss of control makes some men withdraw. They are not bothered by her inaccessibility, but by her loyalty to her own boundaries. 8. Speaks the truth. There are some women who do not beat around the bush, who say what they feel. She doesn't play games, she doesn't make insinuations, she doesn't give messages with passive-aggressive expressions. She says clearly what she wants and honestly expresses what she doesn't feel. This clarity is essentially a virtue, but for some men it can become a source of discomfort, because that openness makes visible the places where men hide. Strong women do not hide the truth, neither from themselves nor from the other person. They drop the masks and prefer confrontation. That's why being around her can be challenging for men who don't have the courage to face her. Because being with this woman cannot be lived as if. Honesty is above everything, and this honesty excludes manipulation and double-dealing relationships. Carl Jung's quote supports this. Man can only become truly integrated if he dares to look at his shadow. This woman makes the man realize his shadow. She reflects to him like a mirror his weaknesses, his false behaviors, his suppressed emotions that he ignores. And this is a reason for some men to run away. Because not everyone has the courage to look at the truth. This woman pushes the comfort zone. With her authenticity, she forces him to speak the truth, not lies. She gives room for clarity in the relationship, not power games. This inadvertently alienates men who are emotionally immature and unwilling to question themselves. 9. Does not expect admiration. There are some women whose presence is already impressive, but they don't have to worry about showing it or getting it approved. They don't try to attract attention with their clothes or prove themselves with their words. They are who they are. And that who they are evokes a poise, a serenity, and often a strong admiration. But here's the interesting thing, these women don't demand that admiration. They don't try to attract attention, they are just being themselves. And this makes some men uncomfortable. Why? Because many men want a woman to need his attention, to wait for his approval. He clings to her need to be liked, to feel worthy. But this woman does not live for attention. Her self-worth is not external. And this prevents the man's ego from being fed. Carl Jung defines this kind of inner integrity as follows. A person who has reached the true self has less need for the expectations of the outside world. This woman is not focused on receiving external appreciation, but on preserving her inner peace. She doesn't want kind words nor constant attention. This creates a feeling of emptiness in some men. Because when the woman does not feed the man's ego by praising him and constantly approving him, he may find it difficult to understand where he stands in this relationship. This leads to withdrawal behavior over time. A woman who values herself does not beg for value from a man. And if a man is not ready for that, he will be afraid of her light, because in that light, the egoic masks melt. 10. Focused on self-transcendence. There are some women who, throughout their lives, are constantly developing, growing, and pursuing new goals. For them, life is not just about existing in a relationship, but also about discovering their own potential and creating meaning in life. Such women are in a constant search for inner growth, which can sometimes make people around them uncomfortable, especially men who try to relate to these women. Because when a man realizes that a woman is constantly focused on improving herself, he often encounters his own sense of being left behind. He may say, "I am also developing, I am also changing," but the woman's rapid progress and focus on personal goals can leave him behind. The man sees that the woman is very strong, very successful, and always one step ahead, and starts comparing himself. Carl Jung's philosophy on this subject offers the following insight. True freedom is the discovery of one's inner potential, and when each individual finds perfection within himself, he is capable of being in harmony with the outside world. In discovering her inner potential in this very way, this woman is in harmony with the outside world, but this balance becomes a problem when the other person does not dare to embark on a similar journey. In the face of her ever-advancing development, he may feel his own inadequacies more acutely. This may lead him to withdraw, to distance himself from the relationship, because seeing himself at her level, trying to catch up with her, may pose a threat to his ego. This constant search for inner growth makes her free not only externally but also emotionally. This freedom prevents a man from shaping her the way he wants, and this is another sign that can push him away from her. 11th, not carrying her past. There are some women who, instead of carrying the pain and burdens of the past, embrace each day with newness and hope. They do not dwell on the negative experiences of the past. The lessons they have learned on their journey only strengthen them, but they never succumb to the weight of the past. These women are not only concerned with the present, but also with the future. Their pain and losses have brought them to a deeper inner understanding, but they never move forward with these burdens. It can sometimes be difficult for a man to approach this woman, because this woman who does not carry her past is often a person who is reinventing herself, always creating a better version of herself. She grows and develops with every step. This can be threatening for some men, because a man who is bound by the pain of the past may find it difficult to understand how this woman has come so far without facing the past. Carl Jung has a saying, "A real person is free from the chains of the past and takes every step towards the future spontaneously." The strength of this woman lies in her ability to leave the past behind and step boldly into the future. This freedom, this reconciliation with her past, can make it difficult for a man to relate to emotional baggage. While a man can relate more comfortably with someone who carries the remnants of the past, this woman's freedom can sometimes create uncertainty and fear for him. Because approaching a woman who has made peace with the traces of the past means adjusting to her personality, which has built a strong foundation of love and trust. And this creates a depth that some men may feel uncomfortable with. The more a woman makes peace with her past, the stronger she walks into the future. And for a man to approach such an independent and self-sufficient woman can sometimes force him to retreat. Because approaching a woman who is free from the burdens of the past can cause a serious jolt to a man's ego. 12. Respects her own space. An independent and strong woman not only sets her own boundaries but also respects the boundaries of others. She is very clear about protecting her own space, and this applies at all levels of the relationship. This woman expects her social, emotional, and physical space to be respected. She has her own space and time and does not feel obliged to give it to others or have it violated. Likewise, she respects the boundaries and private space of others. This kind of approach can alienate some men. This is because most men sometimes define a relationship in terms of close attachment and constant closeness. But as much as this woman loves spending time together, she also values time alone. She takes time to be alone, to think and listen to herself. This can sometimes make the man uncomfortable because for him, sharing every moment together in the relationship is a priority. If she prefers to be alone from time to time, this can raise questions in his mind such as, does she love me enough? Carl Jung's quote explains this situation very well. In order to preserve one's inner peace, a person must preserve one's own identity rather than submit to the expectations of others. For inner freedom is independent of external compulsions. This woman's strength lies in her ability to defend herself clearly whenever others attempt to violate her boundaries. She has the right to remain independent in a relationship and to create her own space from time to time. A man may feel threatened and coerced by a woman's constant defending of her space and setting boundaries. This is due to the woman's strong ability to control and direct the relationship, but for some men this can lead to withdrawal. When a woman maintains her boundaries, it allows her to take a strong, independent, and confident stance. This can make the man feel less influential or less important in the relationship. If you have these signs, you may now have a better understanding of why men are pulling away from you. But remember, this is not a mistake. Being around a strong, confident, and independent woman can sometimes be challenging for men, but that doesn't mean that you lack something. In fact, a strong man will want to stand by and support a woman just like you. Being around a woman who is on her own path, has clear boundaries, and is emotionally strong is an opportunity for a man, not a threat. So if men are distancing themselves from you, don't underestimate yourself. Remember, true value comes from the respect you have for yourself. If you liked this video, don't forget to comment and subscribe to our channel. Also, send it to someone you love and help us get this video to as many women as possible. See you in our next video.